Hello students, welcome back. In our last video, we studied about the major bones in our body. In today's video, we are going to continue with the lesson, the skeletal system, and we are going to learn about the different joints in our body. Today's lesson is on the joints in our body. You already know what is a joint. What is a joint? A place where two or more bones meet. What is the function of the joint? What do the joints in our body help us to do? The joints in our body help us to move the different parts of our body. For example, the joint in your elbow helps you to move your hand. So joints enable movement. Now, since joint is a place where two or more bones meet, what is it that keeps the bones together? What is it that holds the bones in place? Bones in the joints or bones at the joint are held in place by a tough tissue called the ligament. So the ligaments hold these bones together at the joint. Now, today we are going to learn about the different joints in our body. You already know where you have joints in the body. Now let us see the different kinds of joints. Joints are of two types: fixed and movable. Now, in my last video, I told you about the bones in the skull. I told you about the cranial bones that are interlocked with each other. So the skull is an example of a fixed joint. The bones in the skull do not move. Example of a fixed joint would be the skull. The bones in the skull do not move. Now we come here to movable joints. Now movable joints are joints that allow movement. Not all movable joints allow movement in all directions. Now what are the different movable joints? One, ball and socket joint. Then we have the hinge joint. Then we have the pivot joint. And the gliding joint. Before I explain the working of these four joints, let us first find out which are the parts of our body that have joints. We'll start from the top. So first is the neck, Then we have a joint at the shoulder. Then we have a joint at the elbow. We have a joint at the wrist. Fingers. Backbone. Hip. Knees. Ankle. And toes. Now, let us take the ball and socket joint. What does this joint look like? The ball and a socket, in the ball and the socket joint, one end of the bone, which is in the shape of a ball, fits into a cup-shaped socket of another bone. This is the ball-shaped end of one bone that fits into the cup-shaped socket of another bone. So this is the ball and socket joint. And where do we have this ball and socket joint? The ball and socket joint is present in our shoulder and the hip. This is the ball and these two parts have the ball and socket joint. Next we go to the hinge joint. Hinge joint works just like the hinge on the door. It allows movement only in one direction. You must have seen a hinge in the door. How does it look like? Yes, it can be. It folds on one side. Now, this joint is present in your elbow. It is there in the joints in your fingers, knees, and your toes. So, the hinge joint is in your elbow. It allows you movement only in one direction. Can you bring this here? No. Similarly, with the joints in your fingers, knee, and your toes. Next, we go to the pivot joint. The pivot joint, in the pivot joint, you have the rounded end of one bone that fixes into a ring-like end of an other bone. Yeah? This joint is present between your skull and the backbone. So here we have the pivot joint. It allows you to move your head upwards, downwards, and sideways. Fourth is the gliding joint. The gliding joint allows the bones to slide on each other. The gliding joint is present in the wrist, the ankle, and in the backbone. It helps you to bend, it helps you to twist. Is that clear? This is the gliding joint. Now, the ball and socket joint helps you to move the bone freely. For example, you must have seen the cricketer swinging his arm before bowling. So this allows movement, this joint allows movement in all directions. The hinge joint allows movement only in one direction. Pivot joint is the joint which is between the skull and the backbone, helps you to move your head up, down and sideways. And the gliding joint is present in your wrist, backbone and ankle. Now, in order for you to understand the working of these joints, you take a look at this video.
The place where two or more bones are joined together is called a joint. We can bend our body around the joints. Example, knee, elbow, wrist, neck, etc. There are two kinds of joints, fixed and movable joints. Fixed joints, as the name suggests, are fixed and cannot move. The skull is an immovable joint. The movable joints are the joints which can move. Not all movable joints can move in all the directions. Let us now see the various movable joints. Let us see the ball and socket joint. It allows the maximum movement. The round end of one bone fits into hollow part of another bone, hence the name ball and socket joint. Hip joint and shoulder joint are the examples of the ball and socket joint. The bowler in cricket, while bowling, swings his hand freely around his shoulder. The hinge joint works like a door on the hinge. It enables movement only in one direction. Knees, elbows, fingers, toes have hinge joints. Let us see pivot joint. One bone has a projection which fits into the ring like ligament of another. It allows for movement in many ways. The head can be moved from side to side, up and down, backward, forward and sideways. The skull moves on the top of first vertebra. Let us see gliding joint. Adjacent bones slide over each other and allow for a limited movement. It allows a back to bend, twist and turn at each joint, like the vertebrae of the backbone, wrist and ankles. What would happen if your backbone is made up of just one long bone? It would make us stiff as a scarecrow. To sum up various kinds of joints. The joints are of two types, fixed and movable joints. The movable joints are further categorized in four groups: ball and socket joint, hinge joint, pivot joint and gliding joint. Have you thought how bones are joined together? Is some glue used to join the bones to form the skeleton? Tissues that join one bone to another are called ligaments. Ligaments hold the joints together.
Well children, I hope you enjoyed looking at the video. Now, on page 25 of your textbook, there is a very interesting activity that you can do at home. Open your textbooks to page 25. To make a model of the human skeleton, it is this. To make a model of the human skeleton, you will need a few plastic sticks or straws, glue, scissors and A4 size drawing paper. So you can make it nice and colorful. You can use matchsticks. Is that clear? So that's all for today. Thank you.